aim of the MIDI master project and presentation is to get you acquainted with some of the main tools that are used in digital audio workstations with respect to MIDI. This project isn't about making your best song ever. You may want to do that, but at the end, it's more about completing requirements that'll help you eventually produce some track like that. For the first requirement, the project says 1 minute long. Well, it needs to be approximately 1 minute long. It doesn't need to be exactly that. It could be near that. For the next requirement, some things have slightly changed because we no longer have this expand to software library to work with. So I need one of them to be a sample structure-free instrument where you drag some audio file in there. Next, I need a track that uses the Boom step sequencing drum program. Here on B, it says each track must have varied velocity. That means that the notes entered can't all be the same loudness. So it forces you to deal with editing the loudness of the instruments or just playing it in real time, which will automatically make it so that you have varied velocity. On part C, it says each track must have an adjusted pan position. Pan means the placement of audio in the stereo field. How far left is it in the speaker? Or how far right is it in the speaker? So let's look at those at the moment. I'm going to start out by just creating 4 tracks. So I'll go to Track, New, or here we can see this shortcut here, Apple Shift N. And where it says Create, I'm going to say 4. And all these are going to be in both the left and right channels, stereo. Sometimes you'll be recording things like a voice track singing into the computer, and that's only going to be one channel, mono. But for these, we're going to use stereo. It's stereo, and they're software instrument tracks. So we pick instrument track. Ticks is what we want to use when we're dealing with beat-based music. So we have everything we need and hit create. Now, there are a couple of things that we need to create here. First, we need to create one sample structure-free instrument. So let's do that. I'm going to double click on this first track and give it a name, Glass Strike. If I don't already have it showing, I'm going to need to go to View, Edit Window Views, and Inserts A through E. This whole area we're looking at is called the Edit Window. And in order to add the software instrument that I need to show these inserts A through E. I'm inserting a software instrument onto this software instrument track. So I'm going to go ahead and go to multi-channel plugin, instrument, and I'm going to select this structure-free instrument. It loads up. I'm actually going to go ahead and delete the current one by clicking on it with a right click and saying remove patch. Now I have nothing here. It says no patch loaded. Now I'm going to go into my computer's file browser, find the sound I want, just click, hold on it, and switch over to Pro Tools. I'm going to drag it into the patch loading area. And now, if I just record, enable the track, then I can hit buttons on my keyboard and I can play back the samples as an instrument. Drums are really important to so much music, and one of the most important ways for dealing with drums is something called a step sequencer, and that takes the basic unit of ideas in music, which is a measure, and it divides it up into individual little steps that you can program. So most digital audio workstations will have some type of step sequencing drum program in them, and Pro Tools comes with one called Boom. So we're going to go over to this second instrument track and label this Boom Drums, and then we're going to add that instrument onto the track. So go to Instrument, and we go to Boom. And so this lids up, and it has stuff built into it already. So if we hit play, it plays back some drum sequence that's already made. You can see the drum sequence right here. So what exactly is that? Notice it says pat select here, meaning pattern select. That means that they've already created drum patterns for you. And you can see that they created one here. It's highlighted in red. I could click on this next one here and it changes there slightly. Check on this next one, some variant of that, variant of that. So they have a bunch of patterns that are already made in here. I don't want to use them though. I want to use my own thing. So I'm going to go to this little hard to see area here that says clear and hit the clear button. Takes away my pattern. Now, nothing. But that's good. I want to make my pattern. So I go to Pattern Editor, click there, and now I'm able to click in this grid or click on these steps and assign my own sounds to them. I've also divided up into useful areas here. You can see these little lines here show you where things will occur. So this first thing is a kick. I'm going to hit them every time I see this white line here. It's good space for it, and place them evenly, 4 of them in each musical chunk, each musical measure. Then I'm going to go to this next thing here, snare, and I'm going to add those to it. So I've built step by step a complete drum idea, and I've done it by one at a time adding elements of a drum kit and listening to it, and then going to each of the different types of drum sounds and clicking them in. Finally, over here it says drum kit. I took that same beat I made and I tried it out to see how it would sound with different types of kits. Different drum kits with different sounds. I tried it out to see how it would sound with each of these different kits. Now, when I'm done with all this, if I click back on Pattern Select here, this first thing, I've already edited my pattern. This first thing there is going to be that whole pattern I created. Instead of representing one of these kicks or something, this little thing is now in the pattern select mode. This thing is going to represent the whole drum pattern I made. So now if I hit play, it makes a pattern. I'm going to change one little thing about it. That's a little bit better. Cool. So now I have that. I'm going to go back to pattern, edit it. Now I have this main pattern here, and what I want to do is I want to take this pattern and I want to add it onto the timeline on this MIDI track that I have here. I'm going to change it over from clips to notes. I'm going to go down to the bottom of this track, right to the bottom here, and my cursor is going to turn to this little up and down arrow with a horizontal line thingy. That allows me to drag down and change the size of this track. I'm also going to go here, MIDI zoom, and zoom in so things are a little bit easier to see. I'm going to also hit Apple right bracket to zoom in so I can see a bit more horizontally. And notice here the numbers, it says 1, 2, 3. This is talking about how many musical measures I've passed through. Here it's just one measure from 1 to 2. So now what I want to do is add this thing to the timeline. It's one measure long, so I'm going to go to this little pencil tool area here, and this says this is the tool for adding musical events. Default note duration. Well, I want to add one bar or one complete measure of music, so I click one bar here. I'm going to click on this pencil tool so I can draw it in, and now when I click on it, it puts in an event that's one measure long. What I need to do now is I need to take this and I need to locate it at the same place as Boom expects to find it. I need to have it located right here, pattern 1. So I drag it down until it matches that location. Notice it says here too in very small writing, pattern 1-C3. Well, this is the note C, and here's 3 right here. So I need to drag it there. If I was at C a little bit higher, it would be some different pattern that is connected to. Drag this back down. Now it'll play that. Cool. I probably want this to repeat a couple times too. I'm going to go back here to clips because it's easier to repeat things when they're clip based. I'm going to hit Apple 7 or Control 7 to get to this multi-tool here and go to the side of it. Trim it on down to be the one measure long. Then I'm going to hit Option R for repeat and repeat this several times. I'm going to say, let's say 7 times, so it'll be 8 times total. Hit enter, and now I have a drum beat that goes for quite a bit of time. That could get a bit boring, repeating multiple times. And if you do want to change it and change it up, you can do the same method that we used here to add some variant of it. I'm just going to copy here and then go to the second area. It's going to paste that idea there. Now I'm going to go into pattern edit. Let's go to the second one here. Go to pattern edit. And I'm going to change things up. So that's good. Now I have a second pattern. Go to pattern select. And I'm going to go into this. And I'm going to move it up one. It's going to take it to pattern 2 there. So now I have a 2 measure idea here. I'm going to actually get rid of the rest of these then. Delete that and connect these two. Option R to repeat them, and then repeat these here 3 times. So it's going to make 6 more measures, create a total of 8 now. Switching between the patterns. So then I have some beat going on. So I can make as many of these as I want. I can go into Boom, and I can copy that pattern to 3, 4, 5. I mean, I can make up to 16 patterns here in a row, 16 different ones, and each of them will be located over here, one note higher on this grid here. Next one will be up here, then there, and so on. And I can just switch between pre-made loops by moving up and down there.